A lot of people give me questions or ask me questions about how to improve their timing with the technique. And you can think about this. A lot of times people want to do a technique, but then there's those moments where you saw it and it was a little bit too late, or for some reason you tried to go for the technique and it just was off. Like you didn't catch it at the right time or whatever it might be. And so I wanted to share an idea with you guys that can be useful. And this was really useful to me. I picked it up when I was probably around a brown belt level. And it can be really useful to understanding the right time to go for your techniques. Now, when you go for a technique, you obviously are going to have to drill stuff a lot, right? You're going to have to get that muscle memory developed. But even that, you still want to have the muscle memory developed for having the right time and knowing when to go for the particular technique. And so what we're going to talk about, and I'll show you a couple of examples here in a second, is the physical cues that a lot of techniques have. So in a lot of cases, if you start to do techniques over and over again, you'll start to have a sensation from the person you're rolling with where their body starts to push against you in a particular way or moves in a particular way. And you get this feeling that that tells you that's your signal for it's time to go. So I'm going to show you a couple of ideas of techniques where this is going to be true. And then my encouragement to you is the next time that you're rolling or the next time you're training and you're trying to use a technique, think about like, what is the feeling of that moment when you're actually hitting that technique or when it's the right time to go for it, depending on, whether or not you're having your coach show you something or you're able to hit this technique during rolling. All right, guys, so one of the physical cues that we'll use or that I'll show you is with the flower sweep. Now, the flower sweep's not necessarily the most no-gi focused sweep, although I say that, and I use the flower sweep a lot when I'm rolling because people don't use it as much. So a lot of times what will happen is if someone's inside someone's guard and they're trying to break, depending on whatever break they're doing, a lot of times you'll find people lean forward and they break what I call the belly button rule. He's leaning over my belly button. And it's at that moment when I feel him coming forward that I can initiate the sweep. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll sit here and when I'm actually trying to set this up, either for off balancing purposes to attack the arms or to actually hit the sweep, I'll just relax. Let's turn this angle just slightly this way. And I'll just relax here, just kind of let him move, trap this arm, and then boom, as soon as I feel that, I catch that leg to the side and then roll him over and try to sweep. And again, even if I don't use it for the actual like sweep in no-gi, I can use it for an arm attack because he'll have to post to stop it and I can attack there. Let me show you a couple more. So here's another one of my favorite moves. It's a double underpass to a truck entry into a back. One of my favorite all-time moves. So I get in here in the position, a lot of times I'll cut an angle, I'll get my S grip here, I'm coming up and I'm stacking. Now what ends up happening is if the person is, and this happens a lot of times with really good guard players, they'll allow me, they're not worried about being stacked, and what they'll do is they will push off and kick off of that hamstring. When I feel that press off of the hamstring, that's my sort of cue, my signal to shoot into position and go right after that truck entry, right? And when I was first doing that, I was always like a little off at times. And then it was at that, like this one time I was rolling and I remember I shot in and got it. And it was like, oh, it's as soon as they kick off at the hamstring, that's my cue to go. And so again, that was a case where I had to be sensitive to the feeling of what it felt like to do it right versus what it felt like to do it wrong. And again, I had to drill it thousands of times for it to be effective at black belt level. One more move to show you guys. So one more, guys, is the basic bridge, or when the person's bridging and they're driving their hips up, is opening some space up. So if some of you guys, I know we have a lot of white belts, who watch this channel. If you're here, and let's say I'm really tight, if he bridges up on me and I'm too tight, I'm going to get rolled over, okay? So in mount, a lot of times we have to open up space. And again, higher level belts will do this too. You put someone in a really bad position and you break them with pressure, eventually they start to make mistakes that they made a long time ago that they know they should make, but under high levels of stress, sometimes it just happens. But basically, we're in this position here and I can feel my hips driving in. As he starts to bridge, I want to open up space. Now, for me, I've done this drill so many darn times and done this move so many times, I can feel which hip is coming up. So if he's driving this direction, this hip drives up and I can actually feel, come down for a second, as this hip lifts up off the ground, I can feel this hip rising and turning. And so that tells me I need to open up and pop to this foot because he's turning this direction. And then I can get into a tighter position to attack the arm or the neck, right? It would look this way. If he was going this direction, he goes up, I open, bridge, turn. And again, what am I looking for, or what am I trying to be sensitive to? I'm trying to be sensitive to the hip rising up. And so that's just a few ideas. And if you think about this when you guys are training and when you're rolling, try to not be just focused on like doing the technique. That's 100% what you should be doing, right? But once you get a technique down to some level, really start to, especially when you're drilling and stuff like that, really focus on like, what does it feel like to do this right? And if you're rolling, like I said before, sometimes I'd hit the move, sometimes I wouldn't. I would try to like think about what did it feel like to do it right, or what did it feel like when I hit it versus what did it feel like when I didn't hit it. And try to piece those together. Again, when you do jiu-jitsu, the coaches can show you what to do, but there is a big part that's going to be on you. Your coaches are really trying to give you tools so that then you can help yourself and make yourself better as they help you out as well. And again, you have to take some initiative on yourself. And so one of the things that you can do to improve your timing, besides drilling, besides training and doing the techniques over and over again, is try to be really, really smart and thoughtful about what those techniques feel like when you're rolling and when you're doing them right versus when they're not working, and try to piece together what the difference is. So guys, hopefully that's a helpful idea to you. That was useful to me when I was a brown belt, up into black belt now, and so wanted to share with you guys. I'm finished. I'll talk to you next time.